Parenting is both delight and overwhelm, and maybe a little terror, sometimes wrapped into the same moment. Just a few weeks ago, I had 7 orphaned baby ducks, 2 frogs, 5 scorpions, and 1 tarantula, all caught by my kids living on my porch. But on a regular day, if there is such a thing, if you walk into my house, this is what you'll see. A pile of seemingly multiplying shoes, 56 last I counted, flip-flops, tennis shoes in all sizes, maybe some crusted hiking boots, some balled-up socks, and some sandals of my own, all covered in a light dusting of red sand. I'm a pediatrician based in southern Utah and the mom of 8 sons. Yes, 8. My life proceeds with a backdrop of flying Nerf darts, continual running and chasing, and lots of musical instrument practice. I spend much of my time at home, but some of my time at my clinic working with kids who have anxiety, ADHD, and other behavioral health issues using an integrative whole person approach. Over the years, I've been humbled and transformed by the range of experience that I've witnessed working closely with families, and especially by parenting itself. I remember many years ago having an existential moment on my front lawn when a neighbor walked by and said, "Wow, you just finished residency. Now you get to be home more with your kids like you've always wanted." I held it together for about 1 minute, and then I ran in the house and cried. It was what I had always wanted, but I felt paralyzed by all the recommendations and ideals swirling around me. I felt so inadequate, so imperfect, and to be honest, so afraid of ruining my kids. That started me on a quest to figure out what motherhood was really about. And I began gathering my thoughts and questions and day-to-day realizations in notebooks and on random scraps of paper. And over a long, drawn-out process of about 10 years, I had written a book and also come to the important conclusion that my job as a parent was different than I once thought. Peak performance researcher Anders Ericsson and colleagues published work in the early 90s indicating that those who develop mastery in any skill area often have put in well over 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. The good news for parents is, by the time your child turns 2, counting waking hours only, you will have put in your time. The bad news is that 2-year-olds don't let parents feel like a master of anything. And what's more, the skills required for parenting seem like a constantly moving target, and that's just one of the reasons why we often feel like we're failing. As parents, we go chasing an elusive dream that if somehow we could set up everything perfectly for our kids, everything would be just fine. If only we can set up all the right opportunities for them, keep them continually healthy and safe, never lose our tempers, say all the right things. If only we can serve dinner on time and keep our house clean. If only we could never make them wait or let them be cold or uncomfortable or disappointed. If only, if only, if only. But parenting isn't about that. It's not about setting up perfect conditions or clinging white-knuckled to a set of scripts and tips and situational how-tos. Ironically, our desperation has only been amplified by the constant barrage of parenting advice available in books and articles and blogs and from crowdsourced opinion. Did you know that the word parenting didn't even come into common usage until the 1970s? But ever since we started talking about it and analyzing it, we feel like we can't do it anymore. It's like when you go into a meditation class and try hard to meditate, the instructor says, "Clear your mind," and all the thoughts tumble in. "Relax," and you tense up, and Focus on your breath, just breathing normally, and you suddenly can't remember how. Anytime we get too intentional about something we already know how to do, like breathing or thinking or walking, it starts feeling complicated and awkward. And the same is true for parenting. As helpful as all the resources can be, parenting will never be more science than art. Parenting doesn't live in books and articles and tables, but at kitchen tables, bedsides, and milestone moments. Parenting is much more about being than doing. And in most cases, it's not that we don't know how to parent, but that we can't reliably apply what we know because of the state we're in. So what's the solution to this? Showing up in a way that allows you to access your deepest knowing in order to nourish the growth of your children. I call this state of being grounded, loving presence. It's the foundation of my larger compassion parenting framework and the basis of all my teaching and writing. When we show up with grounded, loving presence, many things take care of themselves. We parent with more ease, effectiveness, and joy. And when we're enjoying parenting, we're actually better parents. Whether you're encountering a spill on your new carpet, or a broken arm, or an even bigger crisis, with grounded, loving presence, you can communicate, I'm steady enough to help, you matter, and I'm here with you. Grounding allows us to offer a steady base to our kids through responsiveness rather than overreaction. Love helps our kids feel valued, cherished, and connected. Presence shows our kids they're a priority and provides needed supervision and mentorship. No matter what life brings, grounded, loving presence offers a healing path forward. These three qualities apply to you even if you're not a parent. Landmark research about adverse childhood experiences shows that the most important buffer against the negative effects of toxic stress during childhood is connection to one supportive adult. You can be that supportive adult. With pandemics, natural disasters, political unrest, with rising levels of anxiety, depression, and suicide, there's a generation of kids that need you. The quintessential message of a mother to her child is, it's going to be okay. Our lap of comfort, our loving arms, our knowing gaze, all witness this message. Even if it wasn't whispered to you by your mother or by any mother, I speak it to you now. It is going to be okay. You need to hear it and feel it so you can offer a steady base to those children whose lives intersect with yours. How do you become the bearer of this message? Through grounded, loving presence. Recently, I was in a yoga class doing the child's pose, where you kneel down and bend forward and stretch your arms ahead. And the instructor said, let the ground hold you up. You may need to soften your reach in order to let your forearms come in contact with the floor. And so I stopped reaching so hard and suddenly felt more supported. And the same is true in parenting when we stop over-striving. Grounding is about tuning in to the base that's already beneath you and the wisdom already inside you. The ground is there. You just need to learn to feel it. What is holding you up right now? A chair, a couch, something else? Can you feel it? And beneath that, the floor, and beneath that, ultimately we get down to the earth itself. Who is holding you up? Has anyone in this world supported you, sustained you? Feel the influence that they've had. Even if the ground is uneven, we can adjust to find balance Even if the sky is continually changing, as is the landscape of parenting, the ground is there. Even if everything is crumbling around you, these broken pieces also become ground that add layers of resilience and fuel and nourish the future. When we're grounded, we're naturally less reactionary because we feel safe and secure. Holding it together isn't an act of sheer will anymore. With our new steadiness, we're able to actually be a resource to others. Now, what about the loving part? Love isn't something you hold. It's a moving thing, something you can choose to be a conduit for. Love needs a source. It has to come from somewhere. Otherwise, we're like a cut flower, and our capacity to love may not last long. Maybe your source is God or common humanity or something else, but it needs to be something bigger than yourself and something enduring. Mother Teresa once said that she'd spend her mornings praying to feel God's love and spend her days sharing it. Love notices, love cherishes, love commits. Love leaves an imprint that can never be erased. Love reflects back. As you foster grounded, loving presence, your kids will eventually reflect it back to you. And you know what? You're doing it. You're already doing it. Maybe you're not perfectly grounded, perfectly loving, or perfectly present, and neither am I, but we're trying. And every glimmer of these qualities that we see in our kids bears witness that it's working. Several summers ago, before I had even articulated the idea of grounded, loving presence, I saw one of these glimmers, as I have many times before and since. Early in the morning, I received a phone call from my sister saying that my mom was in the ICU. I felt my stomach drop to the floor. She'd had a massive stroke and was on a ventilator. More than ever before, I felt worried and panicked and lost at the thought of losing my mother. My father had passed away many years earlier, and I felt like my very roots to the earth would be severed and I would just float away. I grabbed a suitcase and started throwing things in. I woke up the baby to nurse him before I left, and in my rush, my 6-year-old son, Malachi, said, "Mom, did you eat? I'll make you some food." And he took 4 slices of bread and made me 2 grape jelly sandwiches. One for now, one for later, he said, and gave me a radish from our garden. And then he said, "Mom, am I old enough to run after you while you drive away?" And I said he could run along the grass to the end of the block. And so as I drove away, there he was, running and smiling and waving earnestly. And I knew I wouldn't float away. I was caught like a runaway kite in my own safe branches in this new family tree that I'm growing. My sweet son caught me. To give and receive love, we must be present enough. Presence means showing up and being awake and attuned. Many things call for our attention. Devices that are continually beeping and buzzing, daily tasks that need to be done, distracting worries. All these erode at the presence we can offer our kids and may cause us to miss out on potential joys and possibilities for mentorship. When you're there, really be there. They say that happiness is like a butterfly, that if you chase it, it will elude you, but if you sit quietly, it may land softly on your shoulder. And when it lands, let's not miss it. I remember a particular day going on a walk along a wooded path with my kids. And in my mind, a family walk is all of us laughing and smiling and moving forward in one big clump, but it never turns out that way. Instead, Some dash ahead and some fall behind, and I'm the frantic mother calling, "Hey, wait for me," and "Hurry up!" On this day, it happened again, with our happy clump dissolving, and me as the stressed out mom with the baby in my arms calling forward and backward. But then I stopped. I realized that despite being with my kids, I hadn't looked at them all morning. The warmth and the softness of the baby in my arms hadn't even translated into my awareness. In my stress, I was fully disembodied. So I suddenly came back to myself, and I looked at each of my children. I saw their eyes and savored their boyish splendor. I hugged my baby close and noticed the canopy of leaves above my head and the worn dirt trail on which I stood. As parents, let's return to ourselves. Let's not miss the butterfly. Grounded, loving presence is the key to enjoying the peaceful, happy times of parenting and getting through the darkest, most difficult day. As a mother, I want to reassure you that everything is going to be okay. Everything you need to be a good parent and a good citizen in the universe is here for you to claim. You have the ground holding you up. You have love to pass along. You have yourself. And you are here, right where you need to be to begin anything. Thank you.